Hey everyone, CJ here. Welcome to another Developer Diary video. This week I started working on the content that I had planned out for the March sprint, which is mostly focused on both building out content and also improving the tools and process by which I make that content so I can really flesh out the world as much as possible and also polish some of the content that I already have. Um, there's going to be some photos posted, or not photos, like captures of. I've started the modeling process on the protagonist character. I think she's coming along really well, but not actually live in game yet. Um, and so we're back in the wilderness map, as I've shown in previous videos. The what I'm going to show right now is mainly some changes to the hacking system. Previously, in when you entered what I've been calling phantom mode, where you kind of jump out of your body, it was just this kind of glowing state. It did slow things down, but the visuals were a little off. Oh, and I apologize for the bright bloom around the edges. That's a kind of an artifact of the play and viewport that I've never really figured out, but that's not that's not intentional or in the built version of the game. But one of the things that I really wanted to make clear when you're doing this hacking is what your targets are, what the state of those targets are, so you really know what's available to you and everything like that. So I'm gonna hop over here to where some of the enemies are. So when I engage that mode, you can see right now the enemies are highlighted in this kind of shifting red color. The explosive barrels are this kind of bluish. Something I haven't. Now I'm running away like a pansy. I haven't tuned up the colors yet. Actually, I'm just gonna jump off this cliff so I don't have to fight these guys. I haven't tuned up the actual states yet, so the barrels or anything that you've kind of hacked to bring them over to your side, that state change hasn't been made yet. But the raw, just actually being able to go into this hacking mode, having some kind of visual change in the post process, that was really what my target was this week. And moving forward, wow, he's persistent. Anyways, that's not important. So that was really the focus of the hacking changes this week, and I'll be improving those, such as I said, hooking up the different state changes very soon. The other work that I really focused on was on the Shoreline map. As I've said previously in other videos, I'm kind of trying to develop the wilderness and the shoreline in tandem, playing off of each other and learning from the many mistakes and whatnot that I'm making in both of them, to make sure that the gameplay works in multiple kinds of spaces. It's really flexible. It's a lot of fun. So what you're seeing here is I generated most of the landscape using a program called World Machine that you can generate height maps for the landscape. And really my hope was to create something that looked interesting and different from the wilderness map, but also if I develop this aesthetic of the shoreline using World Machine, I can recombine different land masses in different ways and come up with another variation of the shoreline map and really be able to produce some nice variety in the maps that still look cohesive and play cohesively. And what you're seeing here, these kind of marking, are what I'm kind of starting to play around with as gameplay nodes. I started by placing these cylinders in as a visual ruler of measuring out the space to what I think is the area that's needed for a successful gameplay encounter. So these red ones are the same size as the encounter in the wilderness map that I've been really focusing on, and feels like a good amount of space to me. And these yellow areas are obviously smaller encounters where you might do some kind of investigation, maybe run across, just a couple of small enemies. Um, but this is actually a blueprint actor that I can copy, I can move around, I can change what kind of actor it is, so that as I'm trying out different types, like I was also measuring using this green one, what's kind of a nice breathing area in between the encounters, so they're not bleeding into each other, so you're not just in this constant state of fighting everyone, but trying to use these as a rough metric of what really makes a successful gameplay encounter. But then I also realized that this was also an interesting way of me potentially playing around with some randomization and getting a little bit more variety. And that's kind of going to be a little bit of the testing moving forward from now. So each of these has a central point. You may notice that this is not actually centered, and that's part of what I'm playing around with the variety. As you move these around, it will choose a random quote unquote center for the encounter. So, uh, like in the case of this combat encounters, it's going to be like a spawning pylon to create the enemies that you'll fight, so on and so forth. Um, and my hope is, as I get more and more of this online, I'll figure out, is this actually creating a fun experience, or is more of the handcrafted, uh, unique thing that I'm working on in the wilderness app, is that uh, better, even though it's not going to get a wider variety, or it might take me a little bit longer to actually put together. Um, so that's kind of where I am with these. Again, the wilderness map is fully playable. I think that you'll pop in right here. There's only a single spawn point, that's pretty limiting, and there's also not much in the way of landmarks. So you can figure, you know, as you're going around where you are. I haven't really gotten to that stage yet. I'm really trying to focus on the broad strokes first. So so yeah, that's where I am. That was the work that I did this week. Another thing that I didn't think it would be very interesting to cover in the video is more UI work, so that you can actually do a little bit of very, very basic base management. I'm kind of on the fence of how that's moving forward. I think I may have chosen a solution that's just slightly too complicated, so I may peel that back and go for something more simple for now, so that it can grow a little bit more organically instead of starting a little bit too complex. Um, but yeah, also just cleaning up weird things, like a lot of the UI was actually like clickable and editable at runtime. Um, so making little adjustments like that, so the gameplay experience is a little bit more solid and fun. Um, the other change that I'm going to be doing, I think most people at this point are getting the build from, and also information from, the uh, Indie database page. So for now, I'm kind of going to be putting the blog to sleep, and just focusing on delivering all of the content on the IndieDB page. Really, no changes there otherwise, with the one caveat of I am going to GDC this coming week, so there will be no content changes next week. But after that, I'll be back full force, and I'm sure excited with all of the inspiring stuff that I'm going to see there. Um, so yeah, as always, thank you very much for sharing your time with me and sharing your interest. The build is, as always, available on the IndieDB page, and please download it. Let me know what you think, and let me know what's interesting going forward. Did you find last week's tutorial video interesting? Or am I going too technical on any of these things? Is there more content that you'd like to see? Any of that information is fantastic, especially as I'm really kind of getting my feet wet with all of these things. I should stop looking at this water stuff. It's infiltrating what I'm saying with water puns. Uh, anyways, thank you so much for your time. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and